Today we are creating a Lost Ark PVP tier list to help new players find the best class for them to dominate in PvP. But first, my name is Cal from Realm Space Gaming, and let's jump into the video. First of all, I just want to remind you that this is for beginner PvP players, and we'll be making a separate PvP tier list for more advanced players later on. And of course, this tier list is only as relevant as the current patch, so when they finally decide to change the classes, this list could also change in the future. So to stay up to date on the latest tier lists, hit that sub button below. Now, in the best interest of your time and ours, we aren't going to do a deep dive into each class considering there are 15 classes. With more to be added in the future as well, we will give you a quick rundown on why each class is where it is. Just another reminder that none of these classes are awful, but will be rated to help newer players who aren't as skilled as more advanced players in this PvP scenario. We're going to start with C tier, which is home to War Dancer, Scrapper, Deadeye, Striker, and Gunslinger. Now when it comes to the War Dancer, we tend to find that the class is actually very reliant on your team and has to be careful when using skills to avoid being interrupted. The Scrapper, on the other hand, has small hitboxes for skills, making it harder to hit opponents for those newer players, and also struggles at range against more skilled players. Now Deadeye is also very squishy, meaning that you don't have a lot of health, so this makes surviving as a new player even harder. Alongside this, skills also have a decent skill ceiling, and can even have issues while swapping weapons between handgun, shotgun, and rifle. Striker is up next, and this is harder because it is very combo heavy, meaning you need to remember rotations and combinations of skills to be effective, and on top of this you may also be interrupted when casting skills. And then lastly we have the Gunslinger, which is also like Deadeye and is very squishy and suffers from having to learn and get used to weapon switching, which for new players is just a hassle. Next we move on to B tier, which is home to Gunlancer, Sorceress, Soulfist, Shadowhunter, a Sharpshooter, and Bard. Gunlancer is here because it has a higher skill cap and mana issues compared to most classes, but has a high number of disruptions and survivability, with it naturally being a tanky class. Just a reminder though, this can be an issue for damage, especially going into a ranged battle. Sorceress is here due to being a bit squishy, but dealing fairly good damage, in combination with high mobility. I'd recommend this if you like classes with skill shots, which can be a downfall to newer players, but perfect for picking off low health enemies. Soulfist, just like the Sorcerer, is also very reliant on skill shots, but has high mobility and a really great buff that adds to team synergy, while also having some great crowd control skills. Shadowhunter is next and has high damage and mobility, while also being reliant on skill shots, but when they hit hard. Now this class does have carry potential, but can be interrupted when casting skills. Sharpshooter, like the other gunner classes, suffer from being squishy, but can use stealth and has good mobility for getting around the battlefield. Alongside this, however, as a downfall has high cooldowns and random damage. And then up lastly is the Bard. This class is a great support and offers the best buffs for any team. The Bard also doesn't have to worry about getting interrupted when casting skills, however is very team reliant and relies on good position to not get picked off by the enemies. Now moving on to A tier, we have 3 classes which are Deathblade, Berserker, and Artillerist. Deathblade is a bit squishy and has high DPS cooldowns, but makes up for this with high mobility, damage, and a lot of crowd control, while not having to worry about being interrupted in combat. Artillerist, however, also has high damage, is very easy for any player to pick up, and has great zone control due to stuns and other AoE skills. The only drawback is that it has slower mobility and can be interrupted, making the class somewhat predictable. Then lastly in A tier, it is the Berserker class. This class has high damage, which is in combination with good mobility and doesn't worry about being interrupted. However, it does have high cooldowns and can also have mana issues while being affected by hard-hitting CC skills. Now in S tier we have one class, which is the Paladin class. This class is a very tanky support and has decent damage while being able to peel off enemies in combat. It allows the player to support teammates while going offensive in combat. It can be team reliant however, and be interrupted while using skills, but is a great class to start with in PvP. Also, don't forget we'll be working on another tier list for more skilled players, and once you have mastered PvP a bit, come back and check that one out. Until then, enjoy your day and carry on gaming.